is now. They can't wait till another goes down. I am the path of destruction, and I'm here right now.
From the studio at the Connecticut School of Broadcasting in Charlotte, this is Adrian Brown. That's the Buckle Turns. Why are we clapping? 6 episodes in, your boy finally got cleared for iTunes. If that don't deserve a round of applause, I don't really know what is. And that adds to the multiple platforms I'm on so far, and a lot of that's a big credit goes to a lot of you who've tuned in. Like I said, it doesn't matter if you tuned in for a few minutes or the whole broadcast. It's all appreciated. So that puts us on. Spreaker's able to send us out to multiple platforms now. Facebook, Tumblr, like I said, now iTunes, SoundCloud, hopefully soon Spotify and Google Play. And this is going to be, like I said, I never said I was going to make $1 billion off of this. Like I said, this is an educational thing, but I really want to see where this goes with me giving a voice to the people, like I said, that haven't been able to have a voice recently. And I wanted to get into that real quick, because if this is your first time listening to me, and this is episode 7, if you have not at all listened to my intro to understand what I'm about and why I'm here, please stop this episode right now. Find episode 1 called The Intro, and please listen to that. That gets you an insight into who I am, how I got into talking about wrestling, being a fan of it and everything. And then you'll see a progression all the way up to this episode here, because I recently got some feedback on it. Take Reddit for whatever it is from a friend of mine who decided to post episode 6 to one of post it to the site. I got some feedback on it about certain things, and basically what it was, it seemed to be people didn't understand who I am and what I'm about and why I'm different and what I'm trying to do here. I'm trying to accomplish here, basically about, like I said, I'm not trying to make $1 billion off of this. I'm not trying to change the world or show how my vast knowledge about wrestling and things like that. Trust me, if you go back and listen to episode 1, you'll understand. But one thing somebody pointed out was the fact that nothing about this stands out. And I'm, insert podcast here, number 10,000, whatever. Okay. If I really, really was those other guys, I'd be launching off into profanity-laced tirades, mocking people, and just, killing this whole thing with a bunch of obnoxious fantasy booking and complaining about certain wrestlers, complaining about, how certain people can't work. This faux insider nonsense that you see out here a lot of times on these shows, who are just doing nothing but, paying their quote hard-earned money to subscribe to dirt sheets and read them off a computer screen off to the side to you people instead of having their original thoughts. That's not what I'm doing here. The only thing that's in front of me right now is some notes and a microphone. This is a stream of consciousness coming from a guy who's, like I said, who's just a fan of this for 35 years. And just some thoughts about this business and the way it stands now, and to provide balance to the norm, in quotes, that you will see out here right now. I'm not a fan of all this stuff that's going on right now, but still, I'm here to provide a little bit of balance in the counteract a little bit what's going. Like I said, go back and listen to episode 1, okay, and you'll understand. I'm an intellectual. Yeah, I pride myself on being a thinker, not this get online and bash people just because I don't have anything else. Like, just trolling, just being a trolling podcast. That's not who I am. That's not what I take a lot of cues from a lot of true crime podcasts that I watch. Things like, a lot of supernatural stuff, some, I guess you would say, conspiracy theory type things that make you think. And that's what I'm here to do. maybe I'm giving you a perspective on things that you never thought about, on topics that you've heard on other stations and other podcasts you may not have thought about. That's what I'm here for. Talking over tracks and things like that. Like I said, I take my cue from these more intellectual thinking type podcasts. If you're expecting over the top personality and fantasy booking and things like, trust me, there's plenty of that stuff out there. That's the norm. If you're somebody who watched this, like I said, for when it was doing what it was supposed to do, this is more your cup of tea. If you're in my age range and you were a fan of it when it was doing what it was supposed, like I said, this is where you belong. And like I said, you may not fit in with the people that you see listen to that other stuff. This is where you need to be, if that's how you describe yourself. If not, like I said, there's plenty of other stuff out there. I mean, this will transition to what I wanted to talk about today. I mean, it's no different in politics. Like I said, I a lot of times I compare wrestling and politics a lot of times because there's like a divide in fandom. Because it's no different than, say, left versus right in politics. You can relate wrestling to a lot of things, and politics is one of them. And a lot of people could probably decide, say their side is one side or the other. To me, they're fairly, in a way, it's represented more. The side that I'm not on is represented a lot more in podcasts these days and the YouTube community and things, the dirt sheet sites. The opposite of me is represented more. And so if you're here for that, you're probably not going to get that. If you're don't believe you fit into that other category, like I said, this is where you belong. See what I'm saying? And like I said, I'm going to be honest with you 100% of the time, all the time. And the thing, like I said, about how I relate wrestling to politics these days. In politics, you have what is known as the fringe. And no matter what side it is, you're always going to have that one portion of that party or ideology or whatever that's just so far out of range. Like, they represent that ideology or that party, but their overall views of things are so far out the way that they, like, a lot of times the mainstream portion of the party or the ideology will not claim them. Hence, they're out there on what you know is the fringe. Okay, so but the issue with that a lot of times is this: they are so loud, obnoxious, and over the top that a lot of times the media can't help but cover them because they're constantly out there. They're constantly trying to in your face, trying to let you know that they're right and you're wrong, no matter what it is, no matter which side it is. And you'll see a lot of times, a lot of people will take that little portion of the party as like the main portion that you like. Okay, these people are scary. These people are nuts. Okay, that's not always the truth. A lot of times there are plenty of sane people. If you come like back from the fringe and come back to where the center of it is, you will find probably a lot more sanity than you realize. But that doesn't get ratings. Sanity don't get ratings these days. Sanity doesn't drive the needle as far as what your agenda might be. And sometimes with wrestling fandom, that's the same thing. Because there's one portion that are just, they subscribe to every single, they have like multiple profiles on multiple wrestling forums and multiple dirt sheet forums and, numerous egg accounts on Twitter and, shadow accounts on YouTube and things like, and they spend their entire lives online just talking about it all day long. And it's just like, they seem to be the people who get the most retweets. They seem to be the people who make these pages and get these like they get quoted in legit sources like Bleacher Report and things like that because they are so out there and constantly in your face. And a lot of times, if you really would like recenter yourself on the actual wrestling bubble, you'll find the sanity in the totality of all of this. And the wrestling bubble is kind of sort of broken off into 4 different pieces, whether you want to define these legally or not. And okay, you've got your hardcores who like watch wrestling no matter what. It doesn't matter what it is, what you put on. If you got wrestling in the title of it, they're going to watch wrestling. They're going to follow it everywhere. They're going to attempt to go to every show. They, like I said, they subscribe to every single dirt sheet, every single platform of social media. They probably got multiple accounts. That's your hardcores. They're the This Is Awesome crowd. They're the Fight Forever crowd. They're the moveset over character crowd. They're the yes chance over it factor crowd. They're the let's get ourselves over because we know we're on TV. Let's boo the good guys and cheer the bad guys for no apparent reason crowd. Those guys. That's your hardcore. The other part of it are the casual fans, or somebody like me who I call myself a traditionalist. You could probably slip me into that category to a point, but to that other side I just mentioned, anybody that doesn't agree with them is a casual. So we'll just say the opposite side of that. Okay, we'll put the hardcores on top of the bubble. Bottom part of the bubble, we'll call that the casual fans. These are people who are just television viewers. Like if wrestling happens to be on, they'll watch it. Their world doesn't revolve around wrestling. That's not their life. Like if something else happens to be on during wrestling, they'll change the channel. The opposite of that is if wrestling's on, they're probably the hardcore is if wrestling's on, if there's another wrestling show on, they'll turn to another wrestling show. That's what they'll do. But a casual fan, is basically a casual TV viewer. These people, the casual TV viewer, they want to watch something that piques their interest, that keeps them interested, that makes them not want to turn the channel. They like stars. They like TV stars. Okay, they like storylines. They like a reason to watch on a regular basis. And if you don't give them any of those things, they will simply turn it off, no matter what. Okay, they love television. Okay, and here is where it gets a little fuzzy. A lot of you probably heard the term smart, which is basically a blending of the term smart mark. That's basically all it is. These people who think they're insiders and things like that. Okay, we'll make the left side of the bubble if we're drawing a bubble here. Okay, like I said, these are the people, like I said, this is the fringe. These are the people who sit out there, like I said, and they're constantly like saying this person can't wrestle, this person's promos suck, even though they've never wrestled or wrote a promo or attempted to cut a promo in their entire life. So, and then you got the stereotypical, most of the people that you probably would see in the NXT crowd. If you would see it at TakeOver or things like that. If you look in the crowd, you'll see these people. There is a stereotypical look about them. Let's be honest. Okay. And honestly, I've seen that several times. I can probably draw a picture of it for you right now. Okay. That term gets thrown out a lot for these people, and a lot of times they subscribe. It's more about it not being a segment of fans. It's really about a mindset of the people that are up top. We'll call that the fringe of that group. Okay. Opposite side, obviously, what a lot of people are calling anti-smart. Okay. Again, that is the opposite. They are the people who are against the mentality of the people on that left side of the fringe of the hardcores. Okay. Now, these people here, honestly, you could probably throw me in that category. I am against that mindset. I want stars. I don't want this taken over by a lot of those things you heard me talking about earlier. I mean, I want people on my television to look like stars. I don't want people on television to look like the guy that's mowing my lawn. Okay? But in any those little groups, like I said, especially those two on the left and right I just mentioned, there are dramatic, like, I can't even put it in words right now. There's a dramatic shift a lot of times in their mentality that drifts off into downright scary. Because, I mean, when you got somebody saying, if somebody they don't like gets suspended, they start making signs for it and they start cheering and things like that. That's a problem. And you got people like wishing death on certain wrestlers they don't like. Children, that's downright evil. Okay, then they start like going off on social media simply because somebody they don't like gets injured. Okay, that's a problem. And of course, you got the usual thing, like if you only watch WWE, you're a casual. Little things like that. Okay, that's that far-reaching, like, that is so myopic. It's beyond the pale of what this business was really ever supposed to be about. Kind of similar to what our founders didn't want our country as America to be about. We didn't want things to be divided so much, especially in between just two groups. Okay, but I've noticed at times that even that anti-mentality of that I fit into at times, there's even a bit of a fringe on our side, and even certain YouTubers have commented on this before that I'm not going to mention them because I don't want to give them any credence or relevance here. That they'll bring up certain things. I'm like, come on, that's bull. But sometimes I notice that it really is the truth. When you got people that are saying you don't be happy when somebody gets injured. I don't care how much you dislike said person. Okay, I'm not the hugest fan of Kevin Owens, but if he injured his ACL right now and was out for like a year and a half, I would feel crappy for the guy because he wasn't able to make a living. Okay, never once would I wish death on that guy's kids. You get what I'm saying? Because recently Sami Zayn got injured, both his shoulders or something like that, which is horrible. I mean, the guy injured himself freaking dancing, going out to wrestle John Cena during John Cena's open challenge. That was that is if that ain't the definition of fragility, I don't know what is. How in the world you injure yourself during your ring entrance? I mean, you danced too hard? Are you kidding me? But never once you're going to sit here and hear me tell you that I am happy that Sami Zayn is out for as long as he is. I don't wish injury upon it. These guys put their bodies on the line over 300 days and nights a year for us, for our sheer entertainment. And some of us are so ungrateful for it that we're going to sit here and be celebrating simply because they got injured. Come on, man. Okay, you don't wish something like that on somebody. And then you got some people who also are sitting there like, if you like a certain person, that makes you a smart. No, I'm sorry. Just because I disagree with you doesn't mean I'm gonna I'm gonna simply label you something unless you're showing a certain type of mentality. Okay, liking a specific wrestler or disliking a specific wrestler doesn't make you one or the other. Okay, eventually when we stop listening and giving credence, I guess, to the fringes of ourselves, I mean, then that wrestling is like the wrestling bubble is deemed as evil a lot of times, but when you love this the way some of us always have, if this is what it's no shame being in it as long as you know there's something outside of it. You get what I'm saying? And it's just, I mean, this whole YWC logic that just comes into play sometimes. It pits us back and forth against each other, but sometimes when we realize that it's pointless, we realize we have a little bit more in common than we probably realize at times. I mean, because I was listening to Robbie E's podcast yesterday, matter of fact, and they were interviewing Vince Russo, controversial figure, whatever. If you want to find it online, it's a really good interview though. But his co-host Matt, I think his name is, I can't remember. This was the first time I ever actually listened to the podcast. But he actually flat out told Vince, he was like, now he said he's talked to Meltzer, Keller, Alvarez guys like that. He's actually flat out talked to him. He's like, a lot of times when he actually talks to them, their views don't really differ from Vince's on certain things. And that let me know that really and truly, a lot of us probably aren't as different as we think we are, but we listen to those fringes so much because they're so out there and constantly in your face, and they're mainly what you see represented from those specific groups online, that you seem, a lot of times you can't help but think that is the overall representation of the wrestling fan, and it's not. You know, we've got to distinguish these things from, you know, from the things that we actually, you know, want it to be. Okay, fandom ain't necessarily gonna agree on everything. I mean, take for instance the way fans act now. Okay, I'll probably get into the Raw review in the episode after this, but okay, take this. This is the perfect example right here. Now, these two particular wrestlers aren't going to be anywhere near on par. But this past Monday night, you know, Bayley basically kicked the crap out of Sasha Banks at the end of their 6-woman tag match. And, you know, and these people are sitting in the crowd chanting yes. They're excited to see this like good guy character just all of a sudden just snap and go crazy on her. I mean, she's throwing her to the steps. She's beating her. She curses her at the end, calls her a. You'll see. Go online and find the beat down. You'll see the unedited versions are out there. She actually curses at her at the end. But these people are chanting today. Okay. Let's go back to Bash at the Beach when the third man was revealed for the New World Order. Okay. Hulk Hogan is standing in that ring with Hall and Nash after all these years of red and yellow Hulk and training prayers and vitamins. You know what those fans were doing? You can see it right now in your mind, can't you? They were throwing trash into the ring. That, whether you don't like the optics of it, is what I always say about acting accordingly. Because that helps the show. That helps the business. This goes back to also what I was saying last week about what would happen. Basically, what would happen if Roman Reigns came out there and flipped you all off and said "F you." You would cheer. You would do exactly what you all did with Bayley on Monday night. That is not acting accordingly. That doesn't help the show. Okay, what we did, how we all just, like I said, to a point, we all back in we'll say the Monday Night Wars era, we liked cool heels to a point, but we never like put them on a pedestal. We still acted accordingly. I mean, you saw on TV, like when Scott Hall was doing the survey, people would still chant, "Yo, are you here to see the NWO?" People would still say that. But when the match started, when things happened, the fans still did what they were supposed to do. See, the way people are doing things now, during those days, like I said, we appreciated what the NWO was doing for the business. We appreciated what that whole entire storyline and the Attitude Era and things like that, how the anti-heroes and stuff like that were being born. But you know what we didn't do during the WCW days? We did not boo the iconic babyface that was Sting, because it just wouldn't have been the right thing, because Sting had done nothing to deserve it. Think about that. And think about how these fans are acting now, as opposed to how the people who are in my line of fandom were acting then. Because you don't understand, when the casual television viewer tunes in and they're seeing a guy getting booed that has done nothing to be booed, they're like, this show makes no sense. And when you're seeing a girl who you were probably watching before, you know, all of a sudden do crappy things to another girl who doesn't necessarily do the best things, and all of a sudden they're watching these people cheer it. They're like, that doesn't make any sense. I'm turning the channel. But again, you'd probably call them filthy casuals, correct? That's just not how this works. These fringe tendencies have got to stop, or else you're just going to continue to drive people away. I wish people would understand that when they do these things, but unless they go back and like go on the network and watch how they behave, I don't think they'll understand it. And it eventually something's going to have to give with all this, but I'm not sure, because here's another example. And here's the thing. Like I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Daniel Bryan. Whatever, the guy's a heck of a competitor. I'll always appreciate him. But Kane, who's presented as the brother of The Undertaker, is one of the best of all time. Yeah, I said it. Come at me. I don't really care. But I can remember a few months ago, and this will go back to the SmackDown Live portion of this past week. And Kane, at one point when he was still on Raw, I can remember a few months ago, I don't remember exactly when, probably well before Glenn Jacobs won the political race he was in. But he came out there a few times and he basically destroyed Finn Balor, who was beloved by this current hardcore fan base. And all I can remember was, fire Kane. Why would he squash Balor? And things like that. It was just so obnoxious. I'm like, Kane's a Hall of Famer. Kane's an all-time great. These people, I'm just like, he's still capable of going out there and doing what he's supposed to do. But just because, I'm like, the guy is a 6'8", 300-pound monster of a man still, even at his age, and even though he's not even wrestling as much as he used to, as opposed to doing politics. I'm sorry, I can't have him out here losing to a 5'10", 170-pound guy. I just can't do it. It doesn't matter if you think Balor deserves it more and Kane didn't need it. It didn't matter. But fast forward to this past Tuesday night, guess who comes out and saves Daniel Bryan from getting beat down by the Bludgeon Brothers? That's right, Team Hell No, ring up Dr. Shelby, just got reunited. And guess what happened when those two guys hugged it out? Yes chants all over the place. Insert yes chants here. Okay. And I'm just like, that is why I hashtag IWC Logic, as always. Hypocrisy of a mindset. Very same guy you were telling needed to retire and go home simply because he squashed your little face painted, precious little Fonzie in the leather jacket. I mean, now you're chanting yes for him because, he's with your guy again. And like I said, it's just, I really don't get it sometimes. It's just mind boggling. The Fringe. That's why they're out there. And that's where they'll stay for a while. Anyway, thanks everybody for tuning in. I'll see you next time when As the Buckle Turns. Haters keep screaming. The void awaits.